Nigel Farage was on Sunday with Laura Kuenssberg this weekend, giving his reaction to the assassination attempt on former US President Donald Trump. Farage blamed the mainstream media for conspiring against Trump and in turn creating a hostile political environment.
Are you suggesting that the political environment is to blame for this?
Well, you can always pick out quotes. I mean, it was just a few weeks ago that Joe Biden said Trump must be put in the bullseye. And, you know, we talked earlier on this program about social media, and that's quite right. There are some things that are said on social media that aren't acceptable. But there is also a mainstream media narrative. And I'm afraid it's very, very one-sided. The BBC is a part of this. It's happening in this country. I mean, I've faced continual attacks for over a decade now. Because it's me, no one cares. In fact, it's even funny, you know.
This analysis from an ardent supporter and loyal friend of Trump ignores two significant factors that have contributed to creating the incredibly hostile environment within which politics currently operates in the US. Firstly, Trump has crafted his own corrosive narrative that the mainstream media, an integral part of the American establishment, has conspired against him, adopting a fake news agenda in order to undermine Trump's activities in and outside of office. They do this, it is claimed, because they are part of the liberal elite, who despise traditional conservative values and see Trump as an existential threat to their progressive globalist agenda. It is from the very same conspiratorial playbook utilised by all populist leaders over the past century at least, on either side of the political spectrum. The objective is to carve out an enemy, someone or something that is out to get them. In this instance, the mainstream media. In other incarnations, it is Mexican immigrants characterised as dangerous criminals threatening law and order across the US. We hear the same from Farage in the UK.
I do think mainstream media, I do think liberal intolerance is increasingly a part of this problem. And
yet, Mr. Farage, you're not suggesting surely that this is coming only from one side. If we concentrate on what's happened in America, do the Republicans also not have a responsibility in terms of creating a political environment? Many of Donald Trump's supporters have on many occasions used incredibly direct language here.
Oh, that's right. And look, there are extremists on both sides of the political divide. And if they're mere supporters, that's a very difficult thing for political parties, apart from condemning it, to deal with. What I'm saying is there is a narrative that has been built up for many, many years. And I see it myself. I mean, people hate me, not because of what I've said, not because of what I've done, but because of things that are broadcast about me on, radio stations, TV channels, regulated by Ofcom or the BBC itself. And I've lived with this for a very, very long time. I think all MPs from all sides now are increasingly at risk. But I do think, I'm sorry, but I do think mainstream media has a lot to do with this.
The second factor is that the US is a society in which violence is normalised, largely due to its unapologetically liberal stance on gun ownership and a history steeped in armed resistance. America consistently has some of the highest rates of firearm-related deaths in the world, and has so far failed to tackle the issue of gun violence in favour of vehemently defending the constitutional right to bear arms. And Trump has exploited this history by constructing a new narrative of resistance, but this time not against British colonialists, but against the deep state, the corrupted, unseen hand that controls the destiny of the nation and the world in order to enrich its secretive members. Trump has widely used the imagery of resistance in his rhetoric, particularly following his election defeat in November 2020. Of course, none of this excuses the actions of a young man who made the horrendous choice to needlessly take another man's life this weekend. But it does provide context, which is what the likes of Farage and Trump say the mainstream media so often fail to do.